What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And this is something that really affects everyone. Maybe if you own your own home, if you own your own property, maybe not so much. However, it might affect you if taxes are raised on everything. We're just living in a crazy world. I recently saw something where one of the proposals in the Biden plan was to tax every person per mile that they drive, a user fee, which would be 8 cents per mile. yeah, I just, I, what kind of world are we getting into? Anywho, uh, rents are skyrocketing, and that's not anything new to people. I do believe if you own an apartment, you've noticed it. There's been rent increases. They did dip when the pandemic first started. Now they're starting to rise and they're going to keep rising. And I want to put this into perspective here now. Prior to the pandemic, um, most were making their payments. Then when the pandemic started, you saw people stop to pay their rent, either because they stopped working, and also it helped that the eviction moratorium became something. I mean, I don't know how the CDC was able to, mandate this because they have nothing to do with housing, but they were because it was a health emergency. Anyhow, they had that and people stopped paying the rents. That doesn't mean they didn't have to pay all that backlog and do rent. They still do. So now that that eviction moratorium has been lifted, um, people who can't afford to pay everything that they owe, well, I mean, either you file for bankruptcy, and that'll take a couple months to do. But when that storm finally hits, and you see all these people getting evicted from their homes, it's gonna be a disaster. Okay, and these people who, for example, who had a mortgage and they no longer could pay their homes, but they could stay, or these people who were in other rental properties, now they're going to be looking for other rentals. Now, I don't know that, the people who are renting are going to want to rent to someone who didn't make their payments, but you're going to see a demand for rental properties or apartments. And I do believe that that's going to cause the rent price to spike up. So what you're paying now, I mean, if you live in any of the major cities, you're probably looking at 2,000 or high 1900s for a one bed, one bath. And those prices are, I do believe that they're going to be increasing here. If you have a lease, once your lease ends, they're probably going to hike your rent up. And it's coming to the point where wages are not increasing accordingly to what's occurring with inflation. So people are having to spend more of their budget on basically all of their costs, especially food, right? You need food, you need toiletries. All these things are going up in price. And so let's say something that costs like $5. You're like, $5, I pay 50 cents more now. What's the big deal? Well, that starts adding up into your budget, and before you know it, you can't spend any on anything. And now that I do expect fuel prices to go up because of the coal shortage that's happening in China, now you're going to be spending even more on gasoline. So most of what people are spending, especially in the middle class, is going to have to be on fuel in order to travel to get to work. And if you travel a long distance, you probably spend a little more on fuel. That's going to get expensive. Food prices. I mean, we're getting to a situation where things are going to get tight. Those things that you used to use for, going out, having entertainment or maybe eating out, you're like, man, I can't afford this. My budget just doesn't allow for it. Those things are going to become a reality sooner than later, and it already is a reality for many families. And so that's why there's urgency in being able to discuss and put this information out so people are aware. Because a lot of people, they might be noticing, oh, the price of their rent or the cost of their food, etc., is going up. They don't see the bigger issue at hand. It's just the beginning and it's starting, but they have no clue of why and how it's happening. So this is why videos like these, I believe, I hope, are instrumental and helpful in educating and helping people see behind the scenes. Because not only do we see prices in food and fuel increasing, rents are increasing, and this is people's livelihoods at stake. So I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Are you guys experiencing increases in rents, food, fuel? I always like hearing from you guys. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.